Hello, and thank you for joining us for part 3 of my conversations with Ryan Evans Kuhlman. We are talking about conscious partnership, and this third and maybe final episode, maybe not, we're actually going to go a little woo with the topic and talk about our spiritual experiences and some of the less grounded aspects of this really cool relationship that we've built. So, first, we're going to talk about the things that primed us or got us ready most recently for this dynamic. Ryan and I both encountered something that prepared us for each other. So we're going to dive into that, and then we're going to jump around a lot and just talk about some interesting things from astrology to soulmates to what it's been like for each of us leading up and during the experience of building the relationship. Ryan, do you want to go first or want me to go first?
I think you want to go first.
Okay. So for those of you who've been following the podcast, you might remember that I did an episode, it's probably been a while, maybe a year and a half ago, on twin flames. So a few years ago, I met a twin flame, and I met him in the course of my work and then had like a really crazy Kundalini experience involving him in spirit/energy form. And it was really interesting because at the time it was so intense that I thought like, oh, this is for sure like my person. Like my heart had been activated. Some of my other chakras were activated. I was having experiences with him in the psychic field. Like he would show up on a daily basis and communicate with me. It was really crazy. But on the 3D level, it never went past like friendly dynamic. And so that was really interesting. But it triggered pretty much everything that needed to be healed inside me to prepare me for an actual relationship. He showed up in a timely manner to catalyze me out of my marriage, and make me face a whole bunch of childhood stuff and open my heart in a deeper way. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was like all of my trauma, all of my bullshit that prevented me from seeing good, healthy partnership was brought up by this meeting. And that whole situation went on for probably about a year and a half, maybe. So two of the big things that I think really three of the big things that prepared me the most was one, being able to leave my marriage, being able to see like there's something else out there. I'm not happy and it's worth it to pursue happiness. So that was the first one. The second one was learning to love without expectation. So you don't really know pain and love until you have unrequited love. And this person taught me a lot about loving someone without expectation of being loved back. Yeah, it was really intense and interesting. And I don't think a lot of us get the opportunity to feel deep love. It's really a gift. And the deepest kind of love comes without attachment to a person. You just love them because they're them and not because you want or need anything in return. And so that was really great medicine for me. And then the final piece I'd say is being exposed to the concept of a man who's in touch with his feminine aspects. So this particular person who I would consider to be a twin flame, he was military and very emotionally shut down, shut off. And so the version of him that I interacted with the most was the part that was in the astral field. So not the one that was in his body. And so it was the extremely feminine part of him, the one who's like really emotional and really psychic and more fluid. And then I had to work through all the stuff, all the barriers I had inside myself around a man who's in touch with his feminine, because that's not something that I was comfortable with, that I knew how to receive or that I could be kind about. So those things really prepared me for the relationship that I have now. And yeah, the twin flame was a whole experience. I got so much support around it. And honestly, it was one of the most intense experiences of my life. Highly recommend and don't recommend all at the same time. Yeah, so that I'd say that was the one that prepared me the most. I also had a soulmate at one point, a soulmate dynamic with a friend. We'll talk about that later with soulmates. But Yeah. So what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, so I definitely I had also a very intense experience a number of years ago that just kind of ripped me open, changed things a lot as far as being ready to step into this dynamic with you in just a whole different way than I ever would have been able to do before. So I essentially started kind of this. It was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now that this relationship with this woman, and we had kind of known each other from years ago, and then disconnected, and then reconnected, and then I started doing like a bit of a long distance thing, and then I was like, okay, it was actually kind of all around the COVID, the beginning of that mayhem. So that I was like, okay, I'm gonna move across the country. Let's just kind of do this thing. Let's just see what happens. It felt like the right move at the time, and we were both. So she had been a number of years into her own kind of deep spiritual exploration and really kind of educated on a lot of different things and had all these different ideas and experiences that I had never had. She'd had, multiple kind of like openings, awakenings, at least as far as I know, that's true. And it just, yeah, it was just a different experience. So I'm exploring this. I'm learning about these things and sort of, I think going to move out to kind of live with her, and it was 8 months of the most intense relationship I've ever had, where it just felt like a nonstop learning experience about all these different spiritual type practices, things coming in. She's talking to me like I'm learning about all different ways of communication, about how to be more conscious of certain situations, how to actually show up in a way of really listening, of truly empathizing in a deep different way, but also of she's having psychic experiences that I'm not having, and she's coming and telling me about it. And so there's this old version of me at that time that's really getting ground down through this experience of where I'm sort of, well, I don't know what you're talking about. This is crazy. I don't believe any of this. Whatever. Kind of just this very old, almost stereotypical kind of perspective of the spiritual stuff isn't really real, or I'm learning it, or yeah, it was. I mean, essentially the way I feel like it now. It was a crash course in everything about spirituality, new concepts. I mean, I learned everything from like the alien stuff to just having like walking on the planet in a spiritual way to just all sorts of different teachers and ideas. And so it was a rocket ship. It blasted me off, beat me down. Um, Partially because of that, we ended up actually having a lot of conflict, and I just we were not in the same place, but we almost in that twin flamey way, I guess, we're just really activating each other's sore spots. So I had to learn how to deal with all that and have a lot of conflict, and I hate conflict. And so there was a lot of growth that did happen. So 8 months kind of went by, and it was a roller coaster. There was never like any real period of just feeling like, yeah, this is great. It was tough, but it ended. And then I kind of went through a number of years of barely dating and a lot of inner work after that, of really looking at myself and being just sort of, wow, what was that? And really not being ready to even connect with anyone in a real way. But at the same time, I couldn't connect with anyone in a superficial way either. Something had shifted. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, then I had to do a number of years of kind of integration and inner work after that, to get ready to, yeah, come back, dive in here and actually have something deeper.
Yeah, it's funny because one of the things you did not mention is all the surface level similarities between her and myself, and like the things that, like the circumstances, the kind of work she did, was very similar to how you and I reunited, and like what you must have had to overcome in yourself to be like, oh, I see this and it looks the same, but it's different. And that's part of the whole universe preparing us, right?
Yeah, I'll kind of speak on that too a little bit. Yeah, because she had been doing some shamanic practitioner stuff, leading a course. Yeah, and then that's kind of how we reconnected through a very similar thing. And it was a very similar thing too of her initially feeling a much stronger pull than I did, same way you did, and coming to me with it like, hey, I think there's something here. And me just sort of being in a place of like, maybe, yeah, maybe you're right. Well, uh, as funny as that sounds, but there were, yes, there were a lot of similarities
Mm.
where, and I'm sort of like, am I falling into the same trap, or is this almost having had a trial run?
Mhm.
And and I think the biggest thing is truly was about the depth of emotional connection and the emotional work of being able to bring out yeah, like what's going on inside of me, the thoughts, challenges, traumas, triggers. That's some of the biggest stuff that I think it prepared me for, because now it was with you, Nadia, that we just from day one is we were able to talk about things and put stuff on the table. And I felt, oh, I know how to do this. I can do this. We can, you know, say, oh, I'm feeling triggered by this in this situation, or I'm kind of worried about this thing. And let me just say it, but say it in a way that hopefully doesn't activate you too much. But then you're always great about responding, generally speaking, anyways, and come back and then we had like work through it. And all of a sudden it's sort of, wow, that was cool. Whereas previously, all that was, I was operating from such an unconscious position of
Mhm.
ignore your feelings, don't bring up the difficult topics, just try and keep the peace, so on. So all these old patterns that I think a lot of people get stuck in, especially a lot of men. And I so much conflict had been created previously that it was like, oh yeah, this time around that was a trial run. I learned so many hard lessons, and then come here with you, and it's sort of, oh, I know what to do actually, kind of.
Yeah, right. Kind of. It's funny because in the first couple weeks, there was this real question of like, oh God, is this more of the same? Is this another toxic situation? Like watching you kind of discern what was going on inside you versus just judging it based off your history, assuming that it was going to end up the same way.
Yep, for sure.
A lot of self-trust in there. Good job.
Yes.
Yeah, so fascinating. um, so the next thing I want to kind of talk a little bit about is like the soulmate energy, the soulmate conversation. Um, yeah, tell me how you feel. I don't really think we've gone into this conversation yet. We've kind of danced around it.
Yeah,
Um,
and like slow danced, and it's been oh, I see you over there, but
right, right. Because although we are in a very similar path, we do have different perspectives, and we were just talking about how yours is a lot more grounded and embodied than mine is, and so it's kind of fun to talk about it. But what do you think about the concept of soulmates, and do you feel like, yeah, yeah, what do you think about it?
okay. My thought about the soulmate, and I don't even know how to begin framing. Okay, it's so ultimately, I think that each of us are, a soul that's here, and we all have some sort of purpose or lesson that we're experienced, where our soul is trying to learn on this exact incarnation. And essentially, that the soul has some degree of plan ahead of time as to how that can happen. And it sets up certain, occasions or opportunities for then us in our physical manifestation to, we still have to make the choice in the moment,
Mm.
but the soul is going to try and plan it out. So we have opportunities to try and learn the lesson, to try and break through, to do the thing in our lifetime. And so I think then for me, with the soul mate, I think that there are other people that are, their soul is somehow connected to us in various ways, whether it be from past lifetimes, I know the idea of like soul pods or something like that, where people kind of a handful or of souls tend to kind of reincarnate around each other, and helping each other out. And then you get soul agreements that, okay, well, I'll help you learn this lesson by being your parent, and maybe I'll be a shitty parent this time. And so that way you have the way to learn your lesson, and then I'll learn my lesson of whatever I'm going to do. But because it's always like everyone learns something, generally speaking. But I think that as far as a romantic soulmate, um, I don't think it doesn't feel to me that there's only one in each lifetime. That you could have multiple opportunities for a soulmate type connection, but it's just gonna be different flavors of it. Or maybe there's one person that is ideal for your lifetime to learn the lessons you're looking to learn. But then say maybe you make a choice in some way along the lines it's actually not what is ideal to learn your lesson. So now you've gone down path number 2, and now you're way down path number 2. But way down there, then you'll meet someone else who will, from that point, will still bring you towards the destination. And I think so. It's kind of like that. There are people and these souls that'll truly kind of move you in this big, meaningful life connection, and you'll just have a profound experience with them of life. But yeah, that it's not. But at the same time, it's not that, oh, there's only one person, and you have to scour the earth to find this one person. But no, yeah.
How many do you think there are?
3.5.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Fair.
For anyone who doesn't know, I have a dry, sarcastic sense of humor, so 3.5 for the joke.
Okay. Do you feel like you've had the experience of like, I know you on a deeper level, like we've done this before, or the connection feels super deep? Like, have you had a soulmate experience, do you think?
Sort of, yeah. I think that I've had experiences where it feels just easy and knowing of kind of who the person is, where I don't, and that's different. I haven't really, past life stuff hasn't really occurred to me much in this. I don't have things coming in of thinking, oh yeah, like we lived this life together. I don't know. I don't not believe it, but it hasn't been my experiences. And quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed about that. But what are you gonna do?
It's not too late.
So yeah, I got time.
Okay, for sure. Hang on just a second. Let me move the dog.
Yeah.
Okay. He just wants the door to be open.
That as is should be done.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think I have a similar feeling about soulmate groups or soulmate families. Like, we agree to come here together and to work together, and we have people we see a number of times in our lifetimes in different roles, right? I have a little bit of a different perspective on past lives than most people, I think. But I have had a handful of people that are like clearly soul family. One of my best friends, Rebecca, I definitely feel like her and I are from the same place and came here to do some pretty big work together. And I know that. And it's taken me years to like accept that. And then I had an experience when I was younger. I had this best friend, and we were friends for almost 20 years and maybe longer. Met him when I was 12 in a random AOL chat room. And, pretty shortly after, we were inseparable. And even when we fought, even when we had issues, we came together like it never happened. I've also never loved anybody else as unconditionally, and that feels important. Like, even when you treat me like garbage, I love you to the depths of the earth. But there was something about it where I just always felt safe, and I always felt at home. And there was always this, like, not just ease, but like a soul level ease. And one day I got a pretty clear message that he was there to help me survive my adolescence, that I would have been successful in suicide, which was a huge issue for me when I was younger. And that he was there to help me not go down that path. He was also a potential partner, and that is not the way that it ended up going. And, that's cool. But for me, like, there's definitely a vibration to the soulmate thing, like a deep sense of ease and home that you don't feel anywhere else, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how does it really feel for you in your body or just in your experience?
It's infinite safety
Hmm.
and love. It's like if you could imagine being held and knowing they'll never let you go.
Hmm.
Like you're going to be loved forever, no matter what.
And yeah, and so because we've been exploring this a little bit and wondering, is this really real, or is this, because like you said before, this idea of are are we crazy kind of going down this road, or but so that idea of this person's gonna be like infinite love, always safe. I guess I'm curious when you think of the soulmate energy versus other relationship dating things you've had in the past, how would you describe the difference of that energy for someone who's like, is this a soulmate? Is this just, I'm just excited? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, the difference is it is the safety. It's like the baseline. Even when things are triggered, I know that at the core of it, like I am safe here. I will always be safe here. Period. Um, like it's unwavering. Even if you waver for a minute or a day or a week, it goes back to that. It's unwavering.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's overwhelming. Having tasted it before, it's not like I compared my entire marriage to it. Everybody that I was with after I knew him, I knew I could never have anything less. And I settled for less and you know, I paid that price, but um it's one of those things that once you feel it, there's no going back. You can never have anything less. Yeah. Yeah. Bless you.
Yeah. Yeah. And does it still, I guess, feel for you like, but still the same sort of like activations and excitement as other relationships, but just safer? Or is it, yeah.
It's a different kind of excitement and activation. It's like full heart. It's like full
Mm.
core self. Like existence is exciting and alive and all the impossible things are possible. So it's like a grounded excitement where I would say like when you're infatuation or having trauma response, it's not very grounded and it doesn't last. Whereas like soulmate love is like deep, deep, deep and terrifying. Like, yeah. At least
Yeah.
at first, until you surrender into it, and then it's like, oh, of course, I've waited my whole life for this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about that too. Like that even, but that feels scary in and of itself, of the idea of, oh man, I've been waiting my whole life for this, and now I think it's here, and whoa, now what do I do?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right, because there is no going back. Like there just isn't. You can't come out of that intact. When him and I stopped talking, it was every day, all day. Like he's all I thought about. It was heartbreaking and also really interesting. Like when I went to go visit you in Denver back in December, so 4 months ago, almost maybe 3 months, um, I was flying home from your house and I received a text message from him.
Mm.
And I was in the air and he was in the air on a different airplane texting me, wanting to connect. And that was the universe saying, like, are you on this path or not? Because you know that there's a soulmate connection here. You know how you feel about him. You know what it's going to be like if you go down that road. And that's an option if you want it. And so it was a choice point for me, like in my evolution. Are you brave enough to go down
Hmm.
this path, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Hmm.
It kind of ties in the telepathy and psychic field piece that we're going to talk about too. Like this is not the first time that's happened where we've connected when we were both on an airplane. It's like we're in there, that ether, and we're like touching each other. It's soulmate connection is pretty intense.
Right. And I'm kind of thinking too, but it's just, it's intense partially because I think when it's a true soulmate connection, it's about being like your best self, like your completeness of your life, or activating like the evolution of who you are meant to be or could be. So it's not just, oh, this is fun. This is like it feels deeper.
Yeah. Oh, it's like life path stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been having a bit of that too, right, with the psychic field stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Um, yeah, why don't you share your experience?
I mean, with the psychic field, it's just been, yeah, I mean, trying to figure out what's mine and what's yours at times, or when, because what we have done, it seems like, especially early on, is that maybe one of us would start going into a negative spiral of worry thoughts, or, oh, this isn't working because of this and this, or it's really just like a trauma trigger. And then the other one starts to feel it. And the other one starts to maybe try and hold strong for a minute. But if it's a big one, then the other person starts to go down, and then sort of being like, ooh, I don't know. Then we're both pulling away a little bit. And it's just this, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere almost, of
Mhm.
just, I'm just having some doubts, some worries, some fears, feeling a little triggered here. I don't know what to do. And that's that psychic field that we've talked about a few times, that it affects us both when we are connected. Um and every time it always felt as if we got to a point where we just had to talk to
Right.
to figure it out. Like, oh yeah, I'm feeling this thing.
It was also hard to tell like who started it, like who got triggered first and who was leading the spiral and what's the actual issue underneath it. And you're right, we always had to come together and talk about it to clear it up for both of us.
Yeah, well, I think it's like another thing we wanted, like we have a complementary wounding where, oh, I mean, whether it's like we talked about the push and pull things before, where maybe I have something that comes up, or I feel like I'm getting, I don't know, the energy's feeling too much for me early on, and then all of a sudden now I'm kind of wanting to back off a little bit, and I'm
Mhm.
feeling a little triggered. I'm feeling a little like the stories and the things in my mind are, I'm feeling trapped, or I'm feeling, like I just need more space, or whatever the story is. And then so I start kind of going into a bit of that spiral, and then you feeling me moving away, then what do you do?
I mean, there's my anxious attachment chasing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it was, and there's been so many layers of that with the wounding, like tugging on each other's wound and needing to unravel both of them at the same time and really having to each own our stuff. And that's been fucking weird,
Yeah.
but good.
I mean, but yeah, but that goes back to the initial point, though. Like, because we had these other experiences and enough training and experiences
Mhm.
of how to actually own our stuff, and how to know ourselves, and how to go through these other types of relationships, that have felt like, okay, I know how to do this. Doesn't make it feel good, but I can do it.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think I've also had so a couple other things like you can always tell when I'm really upset. That's always when you reach out. When I'm like wallowing or like crying on the floor. I think you've done that like 4 or 5 times. When I've been really low, that's the moment that Ryan reaches out, especially when you were creating a little bit more distance between us.
Hmm.
And I was struggling with it. And like that would be when you would touch in.
Yeah. And usually it's funny because it's sometimes like I would have a sense of there's something going on, but other times it would just be this intuitive sense of, I want to reach out now.
Hmm.
And it'd be as simple as that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think you had any of these experiences, but early on, for probably like the first 2 months, maybe, I was having experiences of you like with me. Like I would be drinking my morning coffee and I would feel your energy. And it went from being like observant to being protective. to being like partner lover energy. And then it altogether stopped probably in January.
Mm.
And like from a shamanic standpoint, I think that means that all of you that was outside of your body is now inside of your body. I know.
Success.
But I had quite a number of those experiences. Did you experience anything like that?
I think only once or twice, just the sense of, probably like in bed at night, just feeling like, almost feeling like you were there next to me, and it felt comforting,
Mm-hmm.
but really not, because you definitely mentioned that to me a number of times, like, oh, I felt you yesterday, I felt you today, and so I wasn't having those, and just being just fully transparent on it, there was a part of me that felt weird about it, about, well, what do you mean I was visiting you last night, or you really felt me? Like I didn't, because I didn't consciously do anything.
Right.
But then again, it's sort of knowing that, and just even having this trust and faith of, you have a different maybe set of spiritual skills than I have, and you're doing different things, so that yeah, can I trust that that's truly happening? And it's also not a big deal. It's like, it's nothing for me to worry about. I don't need to pressure myself to feel differently, or I don't need to feel like, oh, I'm something's wrong that I'm not having those, because there's a little bit of that too. Like, oh, should I be having that too?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean it's not the right match if I'm not having that? No, it just means that, I think after working it through, it's just more of trying to understand, well, what is my role in this, versus like, how are you experiencing it too? And we definitely have different experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I find it interesting because you're also very psychic, and you not having those experiences. And I'm wondering, like, is that the whole masculine, feminine, like man's gifts and abilities versus women's? Is that just something that's within the polarity of our dynamic? Like, have you experienced that stuff before you and I got together?
I think, and what comes up for me right now is that the way I view it, that my psychic kind of abilities, it's like an intuitive channel that goes up to spirit realm. And I feel like that channel is very clear and very intact.
Mhm.
And I don't often get a lot of concrete information other than just these intuitive sort of directions. And it just feels right. And it's this very simple, straightforward, honest energy that just feels like, yeah, this feels right, like the right thing to do, or just the right thing to say. And like, I do wonder if is that just a male thing? Is that a me thing? Is that a combination? I don't know. But it's like, I know that I can psychically, I know I can pick up on what other people are feeling for sure,
Mhm.
especially in person. But it's tougher from distance. But in person, I can really tell someone's feelings or things, and I can get information about exactly what's going on inside of them, what their concern is, what their thing is. But when it comes to generally, like, to what I'm doing, I just sort of just get intuitive feels of, let me just do this. But I think it's informed by that psychic connection.
For sure. Yeah, you are deeply connected. And that kind of brings me back to like the masculine piece, right? The really embodied here on earth, but also very connected. Um, yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit because I think it's important. The spiritual side of you is something I've never experienced with a man before that wasn't really overtaken by ego. Like, I really love how connected you are to the spirit world and how much respect you have for it. And your intuition is so good. It's like, it's so spot on. We're often thinking the exact same thing, or whatever, about to say the same thing. Um, and has it always been like that for you?
As far as the intuition, yeah, it's kind of come and gone over the years. And sometimes I've doubted it more, I've been in rougher spots, and I think that I've had this very strong intuitive feel that it just, now, how I naturally wanted to live my life ever since I was a kid, of just having this sense of, I should be doing this, or I should be doing that,
Mhm.
or
Now we have this idea that it's just women who have strong intuition. And so I feel like we need to talk about that because working with men is one of your passions. And I imagine there's probably a lot of dudes out there like this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think in general, it's just a misconception that men aren't emotional. I think we express and feel emotions in a different way. And I think we are most certainly can be just as intuitive. I think that just, yeah, that the way that it comes out looks and feels differently. And then we have so many societal constructions on what's okay and what's not that at this point, we almost just, as a we collective, society collective, have a hard time understanding what it is for a man to be healthy and emotional and what that should actually just look like. And I don't know, I'm still figuring it out too. But
Yeah, do you feel like that's been a challenge for you over the years? Like, or is it something you've just kind of shut down until recently? Publicly, I should say.
I mean, I really haven't felt like there's been many role models of
Mhm.
men that are really living that where it says, yeah, that guy has tapped into something that feels like he's next level. And I really want to aspire to that or really want to learn from him.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of simple as that almost.
Yeah. I think from where I'm sitting, what I also notice about you is that your heart is more open and your heart is more pure. And there's something about combining that with the intuition that makes your magic really unique and really strong,
Hmm.
you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, I'm excited that you do work with men and that you feel passionate about it because I think this is really an untapped field slash market of like sensitive guys who have intuition and who are interested in magic and they just need somebody to show them how to tune into it and clear the trauma that presents them.
Yeah. And I think on the idea of the male and female, again, it's from the challenge that I experienced, I kind of shared a little bit about it. There is that piece of maybe what your abilities in that psychic realm, maybe that is part of just more of a feminine thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
But of that trusting, of saying, I trust you. You're saying you're experiencing things that I'm not. But so rather than dismissing them and saying, oh, you're imagining stuff or blah, 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 like any of those phrases that I think a lot of women are probably accustomed to hearing from men or just from others in general, saying, oh, like you're imagining things, you're over emotional, blah, blah, blah. Like, what if we just, like, as a man, like, what if I can just trust that you're experiencing something that's real? And I don't need to experience it or even totally understand it for it to matter.
Mhm.
Um, but if I can sort of understand it enough to see you there and be like, okay, if you're saying that's happening, then okay. Again, sometimes it makes me feel a little worried of like, am I what's going on? Am I supposed to be seeing these things too? But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important thing that you're mentioning is the trust. And you and I have had this conversation in a number of different regards of like you really have to trust the person that you're building a relationship with. You have to trust them to show up. You have to trust that what they're saying is true, um, that they're being authentic. There's been big trust here that's kind of surprised me,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And I guess even with that is it hasn't always felt easy to trust.
mhm,
But use the technique to share that I did for most of this is to continually tuning into my body and just asking these really simple questions of myself of how do I feel about this? Do I feel calm? Do I feel open? Do I feel like this is okay? Do I feel happy or grounded? Or am I feeling closed, tight, anxious, any of that? And because again, it's like the psychic field versus the body and trusting that intuitive, like that my emotional body knows. I've definitely had a lot of thoughts spinning around that are saying, oh, something's wrong, or she's not the right one, or blah, blah, blah. And then when I start really feeling into it, and you were great about this because you really helped me even just sort of when you just ask that question that you always do of how grounded is this? Like I say I have this concern. How grounded is this? concern right now? Is what you tend to ask me. And then feel into it and it's like, you know what? I don't actually feel it in my body. It's just a thought that's spinning around me. So then if I feel into what do I really feel, I just feel okay, or I feel good, or I feel calm. And so I've been really trusting that as like the compass within this whole thing of how do I feel about going deeper with you? I feel, oh, it feels good. Some excitement, calm, grounded. That sounds like a yes to me.
It sounds kind of like healthy masculine work within everybody, right? Being able to be in the body and feel it in the body. That grounded piece, I think a lot of women really struggle with, especially highly psychic women, because we're trying to balance being here on earth as much as the other realm. And, you know, I'm a believer that we basically have a portal built into our body, because we do, like, we usher life in and out. And so we have the natural inclination to be 1 foot here and 1 foot there. But doing the masculine work in ourselves, part of that is learning to tune into the physical body and to be present fully, you know?
Yeah. And it definitely isn't always easy.
No, it's not.
No.
But you're doing kind of the opposite, right? Is like learning to tune in out there and trust out there and be able to allow yourself to go there spiritually, energetically, emotionally, embracing the feminine, so to speak, within yourself.
Yeah. And I guess do you feel like you're also even in some ways just learning to be more grounded?
Yeah, I mean, you've been teaching me how to slow down and how to be present and how to be in my body and feel my body, right? And so incredible amount of childhood stuff is coming up around that. And yeah, that's been great and awful at the same time.
Yeah. Well, because we were kind of talking about that before, was that it's like this polarity piece of if you're where you are most at home maybe is in that sort of astral, moving around, lots of energy, lots of insights, things moving really rapidly. And maybe for me, it is more of this grounded piece where, again, it's like if I'm not getting all these cool experiences in the psychic realm, maybe that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you're having that. I'm holding the other out the side of it where it's just more grounded, it's more simple. It's just, yeah, I'm here. It's calm.
Mm-hmm.
It's no big deal. And then it balances it out. And, obviously if we were both up floating and flying around with crazy energy and psychic experiences, that might not work.
How would that be? Right.
Yeah.
And I think, and just like a side note here, this is something we're going to be talking about more in the course that we're offering, is the polarity piece and the leaning more deeply into the masculine and feminine and what that means and how polarity can often shift once you enter the dynamic and like what will come up as a result of that. So we will go a lot more deeply into that and how to support it, how to prepare for it, because the polarity stuff has definitely been big for us. Because I was definitely in more of a masculine energy when you and I came together, and that quite a bit has changed. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the note of trust, like I'm gonna share with the audience here, like some of the stuff that's come up on the psychic level that I've had to share with Ryan, and I'd love to hear from you about it, Ryan. Like you took it in pretty well when when I shared it, but I would love to hear like some reflective feedback on that, because it was kind of a lot.
Sure.
Right. So over the last number of years, I've been seeing a seer. I see her about twice a year, and everything she's ever said to me has come true. And she started talking about an incoming partner, God, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. She told me that my marriage was going to run its course, that I had outgrown it. And man, that was an awful session. But then she started talking about incoming partner, and she said that he was going to be very magical and very feminine, and that he was circling me, and that I needed to step fully into myself in order for him to come fully in. And it had something to do with claiming my role as like a medicine woman, as a practitioner. And then I launched this first like mentorship program, and out he comes, attracted to the program. And And then also she kept using words like, I have to hold it loosely or it'll fall apart. And that's kind of been the theme with Ryan, is like to be playful and like loose, and like we're not going to put any labels and we're not going to put it in any boxes. And I feel like that's shifted a little bit, but it's still like, don't strangle it, Nadia, or it's going to fall apart. That was really significant. I feel like there was something else that she said that was like spot on. Um, I had a different coach, a relationship coach, that told me to start looking out for 1111. And then you coming to the group, I think we talked about this in the first podcast, and your birthday is November 11th and all that magical stuff there. But I think I shared some of the transcripts with my seer early on that I told you, like, hey, I was told that you were coming, and here's what she said about you. And yeah, like, how did that land with you?
I mean, fully, it's part of me felt scared and just sort of, this is weird.
Mhm.
Definitely. Of because it almost feels like there's this pressure all of a sudden of, wait, me? I'm this foretold man who is coming in to, be so special, and that's sort of, wow, okay. So yeah, there's a bit of me that, at that moment, this sort of feels, I wish you hadn't said that, because that feels it'd be easier to just sort of just trust myself, but kind of putting that on and saying, wow, that's because I think not only is it sort of feel unexpected, but it's sort of saying that maybe it's saying I am really special in a way to you, at least. And then I have to look at that myself, of how does that make me feel, of, oh, I was foretold to come and do this thing. And yeah, so I think, some kind of weird feelings around that, of some resistance of, is that really real? How do can I handle that, either that responsibility, or just say, yeah, or I guess in keeping it in some ways, holding that loosely and saying, okay, that's cool. And I'm going to try and focus on how I feel in each moment, because
Yeah,
ultimately I can't let that overly inform how I'm interacting with you. And
totally.
so that was mostly the goal of what I had to do, was just say, okay, you are looking at it this way, and I don't think anything is wrong with that, but I also just sort of have to lean into, how do I feel, more than anything.
Hmm. I think for me, it was a huge green flag that you didn't immediately cut me off at that point. You were like, well, it doesn't feel bad. Okay. Like, you took the message and you're like, yeah, it doesn't feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely it's unexpected to
Right.
have to, like, we start, seeing each other long distance, and you like, oh, by the way, my seer told me this, and it's sort of, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, neither was I. Okay. Which brings me to my next point of like getting out of the way and letting the universe deliver the thing that you ask for, because it's never going to look the way you think it's going to look,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Very much.
I think
I
that's
mean,
also been a big theme. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm kind of curious, because I know that there's so much around this that you've experienced on this, and I think it's, just kind of curious what you feel like feels important to discuss right now.
Yeah, I think primarily like a magical partner. I've never, I think I've had people in the past who would have considered themselves to be spiritual, but somebody who is truly spiritual, it's pretty rare in a man. Um, at least in my experience, it's pretty uncommon. And I would have never, yeah, I don't know, it was just too easy to be the one really spiritual person in the relationship, the one who is really tapped in, right? It puts me in a place of power. Um, you're also very emotional, and that surprised that's not something that I would have normally been like okay with, and I feel like I was prepared for that. The seer told me that, and then I also had that experience with the twin flame person. So you know, and like there's nothing about you that's my type. As we discussed before, like my type is tall, dark, and handsome and emotionally unavailable. And maybe he has a lot of money, maybe he can take care of me. You have no kids, you've never been married. You don't have a 9 to 5. Like it doesn't check any of my normal boxes. And I think if I was too busy judging what I thought I wanted or what I thought I needed, I would have never thought twice, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
What
think,
about,
well, it kind of, I mean, I think that just goes to, we both have those sorts of experiences, but it's and then we're obviously like the idea we're going to talk about in the course too, but that we have these ideas that both you and I came to this with of this is what I think my partner should be like.
Mhm.
And a lot of those were programmed or came from trauma situations or whatever. And turns out that, yeah, if we're talking about soulmates here, that maybe what my soulmate might look like isn't what I thought they were going to look
Right.
both physically, but their characteristics and how they handle things and what they're interested in and all that stuff.
Totally. Yeah, no, and I think that's true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring me to my next point. Okay. So, I actively started manifesting this relationship a number of years ago. And as my marriage was in the process of ending, like I got a coach for couples work. And we had been through couples therapy and coaching and all that before. But this was with the mindset of like getting ready for my ultimate partnership. And so I did a number of things to prepare, but to also intentionally call in this partnership. And I'm going to go deeper into this a little bit in the master class, but mostly in the course. But I want to share it here because it's fun and like I'd like to take ownership of it. So one of the activities, and it's not just like a blanket activity. Like I feel as if people talk about this in a superficial level and they're like, write a list of the things that you want your partner to have or to be. And you actually need to be more specific than that. And there needs to be some other things in mind when you're writing it so that you're writing it properly. Because much like anything you're asking the universe for, you have to ask a certain way and there has to be a certain energy behind it. And so I have this list that I've been carrying with me since May 9th of 2024. It's a big list. Can we see it? Sort of. It's a long list.
Sort of.
Oh, man. Okay. So there's like 40 things on this list. All right. Yeah. I think
I didn't know there was 40.
oh yeah, no, it's long. And there's like two that you questionably haven't met and one that you definitely haven't met. And the more I get to know you, the one that you haven't met is not important. Like it doesn't actually matter, but I thought that it did, right? And so like I'm going to share a couple things on this list because we all have our list in our head about partners and like what we want, what we think is going to make us happy. And again, this is not just about listing things out. It's way more technical than that. And I'd love to teach people how to do it. But okay, so communicates well and often. Okay? We've nailed communication. You're the best communicator I've ever met for a man. Has emotional intelligence, is open-minded, has done a lot of work on himself, does little things that are thoughtful, cares about himself and others, is consistent, chooses me over and over again, can go deep with me in intimacy. Very shortly after we met, you made it clear that you checked all of these boxes. Like I said, there's still a couple gray areas, but we're not living together yet. That is coming. Like I like to be woken up with coffee or breakfast. I want to smell breakfast waking up. So there's a couple things, and even still, when those things come down to it, they're like, are they really that important, or is it the feeling of care? Is it the feeling of somebody is keeping me in mind to the point that they make me coffee in the morning, and really being able to chisel that down further? Um, so yeah, I totally called this in, and that's something I want to teach other people to do.
Yeah. So I guess okay. So, but I want to come back to one thing that you were saying before, which is also about getting out of the way.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about like calling it in, but then also allowing the universe to bring you the unexpected? Connect those.
Yeah. So, as a result of making this decision for a higher level partnership and like making the decision that I wanted it and I was not going to settle for less, it meant that I had to say no to less over and over again. Um, and I would be given tests by the universe. Like, are you sure? Like this thing I mentioned with my friend on the plane. He's not the only man that reached out to me from my past saying, "Are you sure?" Um, all in a very short period of time. And the getting out of the way is like how I think it's supposed to look because you and I it's been so nonlinear. Like we went deep emotionally immediately. The emotional intimacy was deep and it was fast and it was like almost like it was unstoppable. Um, and I really just had to let that happen. And I had to share things as they were coming up, big feelings, big experiences. If I felt like I needed to say it in the grounded need, right? Like it feels like I'm being suffocated if I don't.
Hmm.
Um, I have to get out of the way and say, yeah, I'm going to say it and I'm going to trust that there's a reason. And it's going to open up this other thing here and this other conversation. And then energy is going to be cleared between us and um, allowing the process to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been hard.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. But getting out
Mm.
of the way, like even with the distance and what you and I have been going through and planning on moving in together, like logically it doesn't make sense. But we feel it and it's here and it's like, yeah, it's time to go.
Well, yeah, all the pieces are coming together, and we don't know how they're going to land just yet, but
Totally.
coming together.
Right. Get out of the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Just see how it comes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's a life theme, I think, when you're on a spiritual path is learning to let the universe deliver what you asked for instead of telling the universe how you want it to look and then only letting certain things in, right? That's like how we block everything that's wonderful in our life. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's something I'm still very much working on is in truly letting it bring me kind of what I want. And we've talked about this, but I still have challenges on really receiving and really wanting things and like, yeah, I really want this type of house or this type of lifestyle or whatever it might be. Um, yeah, and we didn't really even touch on this yet, but I wasn't totally calling in a relationship when this started. I was more focused on I want a different life. I want to feel more activated, enlivened, just be more of me. And I'd be kind of like off and on with some dating apps and stuff, but just none of it felt good. And so I wasn't really on the lookout for it. And and I think
Here
that
I come.
and then here, yeah, then here, and this whole experience just totally comes out of left field and blindsides me. And but again, it's like I've had to continually come back into trust and into myself of wait, is this actually what I want? Because as you said, it it wasn't what I expected as so far as what I thought the type of relationship I wanted was, or the type of relationship that'd be good for me.
Mhm.
And and I wasn't even really looking for it. And but again, I think that it's almost like if the universe truly knows what I want and what I need, it's really starting to feel like I will gain that thing I was looking for of really activating my life through a relationship.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. I thought I was supposed to be doing my own thing, I'm just a man, taking care of himself and finding his way in the world and being independent, and
And I
maybe
wonder if
that's
that's like a thing for men too,
which part of it.
like being activated by a relationship.
I actually think so. I think I can say this from my personal experience is that I have always done better in life when I'm in a relationship that feels at least solid. Because I've had relationships that didn't feel great, but they weren't the most exciting. But when it still felt solid, like a source of support, I was better in life.
Mhm.
And it feels to me there's only so much I can do when I'm by myself. And maybe that's not everybody, but I really do kind of wonder if that's part of men that a lot of men really actually feel really good and nourished to be in a relationship and to be able to provide or help. There are those words that like providing or taking care of a family or a partner that those are somewhat stereotypical, but maybe there's a reason too that maybe
Mhm.
it's part of us deep down in our wiring just sort of feels like it gives us meaning, and then we feel solid to just do other things too. I don't know. So I've kind of been leaning into that a little bit, thinking, yeah, this is something maybe I needed, but didn't really want or didn't know I needed.
For sure. I think that's the case for women too. Like, I didn't realize how hardened I was and how reinforced with armor and structure and working hard and hustling, and how much more softness was available to me. And I'm like not even scratching the surface, I can tell. Um, and I can't do that on my own. Like, there is a need to be held there, to be protected there, to be provided for. And we were just talking earlier today about this providing and like, gonna work a 9 to 5 and make the money. Like, that's not the providing I need. I need like emotional and energetic providing, maybe other things too. But um, yeah, I think it goes for women as well, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a Native American proverb that goes something like, a woman's job is to lead a man to his heart, and a man's job is to protect her as she walks the earth, or something like that. Like,
Mm,
um, it just feels so appropriate.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, let's talk about, I have a couple more points on my list. The
yeah.
astrology. Okay, so when we ran our charts through the whole astrology process, like that was extremely illuminating.
You did the whole run through, so you lead this part.
Yeah, okay. So I'm not very good with astrology. It's not one of my skill sets. But essentially, it was like you guys need to communicate to death, basically. And um, it's like in my birth chart that space or separation feels unsafe to me. Like, it's something that I need as part of like my personal support, my inner support, my ability to work through things. I need to communicate and I need to be like kind of close. Like, I'm a very, what's the word? Like, relational
Mm.
in on a deep level astrologically. And Ryan being a Scorpio with a smattering of other interesting placements is like
I've
protective. Yeah, go
mhm.
ahead. You talk about
Well,
that.
I guess yeah. There's some very strong elements of a decent amount of Scorpio. There's some Capricorn in there, and there's also like I think 4 aspects of Sagittarius.
Yeah,
So it ends up being this interesting balance of I really like depth, closeness, deep intimacy, and trust is super important. But at the same time, there's this part of me that just wants to explore and wander the world, and that is a bit of an energy too in the connection of you can't again like you can't hold me in a box.
right.
I'll go crazy. Like, it'll literally make me insane, and like it feels like there's bugs on my skin when I think about it. So it's that and it's just and it's but it's finding that person who like and Nadia's been beautifully checked that off where you want to go and travel the same way I do, and you want to have the idea of flexible lifestyles and moving around the country throughout the year if possible, and just all these cool things of yeah just having that adventurousness, but also allowing life to be a freedom and an exploration, and not just get me a house and a dog and a yard and I'm happy. And it's like, okay,
We can have that too, though.
yeah,
Yeah. It it is interesting. It also like it helped explain like slow pacing, like that
hmm
you need a lot of space and you need a lot of inner stuff, but also like, oh yeah, this kind of person, once they're in, they're in. Like you can't even kick them out.
that's the thing. That, yeah, it's really, for anyone who's Scorpio knows one. It's really uncomfortable internally, because it's, for me to truly bring someone all the way in, it takes a lot. It takes time, and it's hard to allow that to go through all the layers. Partially because, I mean, it's this feeling of when someone's fully in there, it's I'll defend them to the death, and you don't get to go away. And if you do, you like rip my heart out. It's intense. Is the feeling really
Totally.
intense? Yeah.
Yes, and very deep, like the level of passion. I think it's really cool that our charts also show we have similar levels of passion and similar levels of spiritual connection and like needing serious relationship. Like there's no other way to do relationship for us. And I think putting the charts together was really helpful. Um, yeah, even just to emphasize the struggles that we were already kind of seeing and going through, like, hey, this is normal. It's actually part of your chart. It's not all your childhood trauma.
hmm
So maybe have a little compassion for it.
For sure. Yeah. Actually, one thing I just want to lean back into, it's there's a very specific placement. Was I have a north node in Taurus, which means that essentially my life path, or like one of the lessons I'm learning according to the astrology chart, is how to just be more Taurus energy than Scorpio, which is the opposite, and which means just be really grounded, really present with life, and enjoying the simple things of life, and like building from the ground up, really like just this solid, earthy, present, slow energy, which I'm learning how to do. But I think that that is like just a really helpful reminder to me as we're moving forward, of that it's that even though it feels uncomfortable for me, or can maybe sometimes question, should I be more emotional? Should I be having, again, these ethereal experiences?
Mm.
But that's not my spiritual path, according to that chart. It's saying, look, your path is to be really friggin' present and grounded, dude. Just do that and trust, because you potentially aren't gonna have all these wow out of body experiences. Your spirituality is just way more grounded, and so I've had to. It's hard to understand that in certain ways, but at the same time, it feels very natural.
Well, and the North Node is what you're supposed to be working on in this lifetime, right?
Right.
Right. And so
Yeah.
and that's also kind of a theme in the astrology charts is that we trigger a lot of our stuff that we're supposed to be working towards or working on. And it's perfect placement either to blow each other up or to like really have a growth oriented relationship.
hmm Yeah. Which is which is great, and growth.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, I don't think it's always going to be that way, certainly. But that's, I mean, I could never settle for any other kind of relationship than one that pushes me to grow and helps me be the best version of myself. I think I'd be bored.
I got bored in some of my previous ones, that's for sure. Great women all around, but realistically, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they, you know,
That's why it ended, because it wasn't the right one.
right. Um, okay. So astrology, yes. One of the other weird spiritual things that happened was 2 weeks before we came back together, I had sat in ceremony with a plant medicine. It happens about once a year. The plants call me to sit, sometimes twice a year. Um, Nothing too crazy, but I was called to sit in ceremony, and the entire ceremony was about partnership. And it was about like these ancient wounds that ran through men and women and the dynamics. It was brought me back to Egypt. It was a pretty intense thing. And I was told that I was working on something very specific and that this was going to be part of like an ongoing business thing or whatever, right? And then 2 weeks later, I meet Ryan, and the relationship has been such where it's like, "Oh, we can help other people." You know, this can be a thing. We're really good at it, and we're both, like, medicine people, and, um, yeah, so that was kind of another spiritual piece that was really interesting, and Ryan, you knew about that when we met, about that ceremony, about those messages. I shared that with you.
Yeah. I To be honest, I kind of forgot though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a big part of it, and that wasn't I mean, I just assumed it was gonna be somebody else, like, the fact that the universe was like, "Oh, here's this guy, now you guys are gonna be going down this path," and now here we are a number of months later, and we're like, "Actually, we're really good at this." We started when we start working with other couples and doing the relationship stuff, it's been incredible so far.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed. It does feel like, I don't know, intuitively natural and good to be doing this, and if would love to be able to help other people along the way if we can.
totally.
Yeah.
And I think that's medicine work, is going through it, digesting it, integrating it, and then helping other people. Whatever that is, right? Whether it's like life experience, childhood trauma, education, or in this case, like relationship magic, relationships, medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's a couple other things that has been really interesting from my point of view, and I don't think you've had any of these either. Um, but I had a lot of like dreams and visions that were really interesting, and I felt like they were all kind of guiding me and confirmation. Right, so some people will I definitely use tarot cards too, or oracle cards, to get confirmation, but my dreams and my shamanic visions were pretty much nonstop. I had the QHHT session, the quantum healing hypnosis, where I experienced a past life with Ryan, and, yeah, definitely felt like the depth of it and the loss of it, and then got a whole bunch of messages about, like, our dynamic and moving forward that was really unexpected. I've done a lot of past life regression work, and I've never had anything that directly correlates to, like, right here, right now with a person.
Mm.
Yeah, how was that? That was a pretty ridiculous session. How was it to hear that?
Again, actually, that was similar to like the Oracle thing of from this year of just you when you'd come and tell me that we had had a past life together and that there was immense amount of sadness when one of us went away. And again, I'm just sort of, huh, well, that's, I mean, that it feels intense. It feels like this churning inside of me of is, because I'm not having that experience. You are. And, I guess for the most part, I trust you that what you're experiencing or the information you're getting is relevant and important, and to whatever degree the past life exactly is real, it's like, wow. And yeah, I think it's, again, for me, it feels there's this tough part in believing it fully as if I had experienced it.
Mm.
But yeah, um, hearing it from you and thinking, wow, that's, yeah, again, it's like, how do I take this information? What do I do with this information? This
Well,
idea. Sorry,
you're
what?
kinda leaving something out, though. So, when I left you this message, you were like, "I wanna believe that that's how it is."
Yeah,
So say something about that.
about how just that it is so connected, and then
The
what?
desire to believe that it was true.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Because it's hard when I hear something like that that comes from you, and I don't immediately feel in my body that of like a full belief. And I think that feels like it's just part of my experience of I want to believe really deeply in these cool astral messages where, yeah, we had a past life together and just how deep this connection could be and how powerful and profound, and having it span across lifetimes that yeah, that feels so cool to me
Mhm.
to if that's true. And yet I don't feel like the deep belief in me. So it's sort of, man, I wish I did
But you
believe
want
that.
to. Like
I want.
you want to believe in, we'll call it like magic, that like stuff like this is there and available, and like this is what a relationship is or could be.
Oh yeah, and that's part of I think for like this growth path that I'm on is that I there is this part of me that just if you ask me, is magic real? Does magic exist? He's like, oh yeah, obviously, duh, just that nonchalant. But at the same time, I am not really tangibly experiencing it in my current present reality. So I want it to be real, but it's almost like some internal battle of like the wanting it to be real, but then that also by its nature means that I don't think it's real, but still at the same time thinking that it's obviously real. And so it's, a little mind circle thing, um, but yeah, 100% feeling that there is some degree of that's that's how reality is, that this past life we were together, all this magic stuff. Yeah. Like let's tune into that and make that what I'm living in.
Hmm.
Sounds great.
Yeah, no, it was great. We were like in a cottage in Ireland, and there were lots of animals and plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Um, that was my first time having a past life experience that was human.
Hmm.
Hmm. And again, what a past life really is, we could have a different conversation about that. Um, I've had a lot of dreams and a lot of messages. Like there was one recurring message. I think it was actually after yoga when I was in Savasana, and it was like he's always going to come home. He's always going to come home, and I didn't know what that meant. And then not long at some point after that wasn't too long, you said that I felt like home. And we talked about your tendency to like go into the cave or go off into your own world, and like me being the anxious person that I am is always like, is he going to come back?
Hmm.
And but I would get a lot of reassurance from the other side. Um, and I actually like I have it taped in a sticky note here on my laptop to remind me, because human amnesia. Um, but yeah, I was told that you would always come home. And then I would have dreams about um you being like, okay, so I had this one dream where we were like on a date, and it was like really silly energy, and I tripped over a rock and I fell to the ground, you fell to the ground with me, and it was like this moment of you coming undone. But you were a
Hmm.
British man, so like emotionally you were all zipped up, and it was like finally starting to break through, and then something shifted in your behavior that week. So I've had a lot of like little nudges from the universe of don't give up, this is going in the right direction. um, and that's been really supportive for me as a magical person, because it is a little overwhelming. I have a lot of like human shit coming up, and it's easy to get lost in that when you're so sensitive and you know tuned in.
Hmm. Definitely.
I don't think you went through anything like that, right? Like having dreams or visions or messages.
No, not like that. Definitely not. Yeah, like I
Hmm.
said, I think it's just all been so much more grounded in just physical world stuff of how do I feel, what's coming up for me, and I think actually as we're kind of talking about it, I think it's about one of these challenges I'm having right now is really leaning into these bigger emotional experiences that are kind of coming up and like a deepening of our connection, and but also of allowing just things to be moving, and it doesn't need to make sense. I think that really rational grounded part of me um, struggles a little bit, and even within this doing these podcasts there's a degree of vulnerability and kind of discomfort inside of me of I'm telling apparently the world about all the stuff we've been doing and about affection for you and connection and all the things we've been doing, and coming from a spiritual orientation around it,
Hmm.
so that there's that part of me that wants to say, oh, is this too weird? What are people going to think that I'm saying these things? And Yeah, and so, but I was just learning to even just feel it. You know what? That this is my experience. This is what I'm feeling, and that's okay. And really enjoying that, allowing that to grow, and not needing it to make rational sense.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's a big one, not needing it to make rational sense. Yeah, that's the spiritual work in a nutshell, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I think I'm out of topics, but as you were talking, like I'm brought back to one of the early conversations we had. I think it was like within the first 2 weeks. And it was like I asked you what you wanted. I was like, what do you want to do here? Do you remember what you said?
Did I say something about magic?
No.
What did I say?
You said, I want to love you.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It was our first conversation about like, are we gonna like what's going on here? Am I just toting you along literally within 2 weeks? And it was like you already knew. Some part of you already knew.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going with that and like being honest with what's coming up and not holding it back, because that's also one of the things that I have written down here, not to forget.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah, and it's easy to forget.
yeah.
Yeah, things keep moving and changing, and it's, oh yeah, I don't remember that thing I said in the first 2 weeks, but
That's okay. I
yeah.
do.
Okay, cool.
All right. Is there anything else you want to touch on or revisit before we close it out?
I don't think so on this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We do have that masterclass coming up in 1 week, right? Yes, the 27th. The link will be in the description of the podcast. And we will have a course rolling out a couple weeks after that on conscious partnership, both for singles and couples, kind of walking you through all the levels of these processes from a trauma standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, all the support you need to call in this kind of relationship and sustain it. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.